Welcome everybody. My name is Kathalynas. I'm the resident artist at Norfolk Botanical Garden in Norfolk, Virginia. And I'm very happy to be here today. I do have a couple of works represented here. To me, art and my expression of art is that of two things. My process of art, anyway, is that of the meditative movement and the art of first thought creation. So in other words, I work in a meditative zone, and I use that movement as if a Zen rock gardener would use to move the rocks in Zen gardening. I work that same way very physically with my canvases and with the application of my paints and other materials. And then I allow the first thought, the higher first thought, to move me in the direction of which way the art will go. So in other words, do I have a loose formulation in my mind? Perhaps. But I do go with the flow, in other words, and I like to be spontaneous and have my art evolve as I go along. So in other words, it never turns out the way that my first thought is. I always allow it to evolve into something that I think is perhaps larger than me. And I don't know how many minutes I got left, but I'm very happy to be here, especially with the other great artists that are in this room. I mean, there's some real high caliber artwork here tonight, and definitely take a look around and see what you think of it. I am moved by a lot of things in life. I would say I work with the heart in my meditation studies. I'm also the meditation leader at the Norfolk Botanical Garden, so I have a class on Sundays. And I work right here. If you're familiar with the Chakra Center, the Anahata is where I go. And that is allowing my thoughts to close up, moving away from thought, and working more with the emotional body and the feeling. And to me, I think that's important, especially in this day and age. I mean, a lot of political things happening out there today. There's presidents, and then there's some interest of the presidential election, as well as North Dakota pipeline, things of this nature. I think it's very important to move as an artist with feeling and go with what's most important. Nobody's different than anybody else, and I think everybody in this room understands that today. And when I look at the great paintings here, I look at a lot of expression and emotion happening, and how powerful that is and important to me. And I think that you can see it as well. That this stuff connects with the heart. And hopefully it brings the intellect along with it as well. Because I think that's what it's art about. I also want to mention one more thing, and that is, as an artist, some people would say that, well, you're very different than some other people, or I hear the comment, I'm not that creative. I think everybody is creative. Everybody has this imaginative force, the source at the center of their lives. We either use that muscle or we don't. And I would say if we did not use our imagination as a people, as mankind, we wouldn't be building bridges, we wouldn't have the clothes on our backs, we wouldn't have this beautiful library to be hosted in today. We wouldn't have all those things. Because it comes from the imagination, it comes from that source energy. And I think artists, the difference is they practice using that muscle. So I'm also here today to share with you that I think everybody here is an artist in a certain way, and everybody here is an imaginative force. So thanks for letting me share with you today. Questions? Yes.
When you create, if you will, do you first find a center to create from, or is it just, what's your word?
Ethereal?
Yes, I do. The center that you might be referring to me is definitely the meditation part. So in other words, I work at silencing my mind. I work at the process of, I call these thoughts sometimes the children playing with power tools in my head. I work to silence that, so that way I could feel the next first higher thought. And when that first higher thought, I'm talking about a thought that's not necessarily about, oh, that lasagna was good today, or wow, you know, that movie I want to see tomorrow was really cool. That's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the first higher thought that comes in. And perhaps it's something different than I would usually think of. And then I work in that meditative space to begin the process of art building. So that, I would say, is the zone
Yeah.
that I go to.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Do you, when you're ready to start painting and you're thinking about the concept, do you meditate before you create the concept, or do you sort of have a concept and then you meditate to expand that concept?
It's a really good question. Sometimes I do get spurred on by things that I may read or be interested in, or things that are being talked about at the office, so to speak. Sometimes that seeps in. But I do go always to the meditative motion first. Meditation is very important to me. And then it either comes through or it does not, or something else gains my attention. So in other words, I make a definitive space to go with this instead of this. There's two different things. You know that there's a lot of talk these days in neuroplasticity, and there's a lot of talk about in the neurosurgeon realm that there is not just thought happening to us, that we are actually feeling feelings and then that spurs to thought. Now this is wild in the medical field. It's really set off quite a dialogue about what happens to perhaps our soul or spirit. So that's where I look to lead with. Any other questions? Yes.
In terms of flow, and the creating and a definitive flow to what you're doing, is there a time when there's a break in that flow that takes you in another direction?
Yeah. Yeah, there is sometimes a break in the flow. So in other words, when I do get the first thought and I say, okay, something's telling me I have to go with the person that's over here in the hat, let's just for instance. You know, I know that that's something that I have to go after to make that representation on the canvas. Well, when I get that first thought done, then sometimes there's a break, and I don't know what the next one is. Sometimes the canvas will communicate something other that I need to do, the next first higher thought. Or it'll go on the side, and I'll be working on the three other ones that are to my left. So in other words, I don't pause my creation, I just move it to the other film, the other area. And there's another part to that too, and that is I believe as an artist or just as a person, I don't have just the ability to express myself into paint. I have the ability to express myself into a lot of other things too. I write, I do a lot of personal management with myself. I also do poetry. I create with music. I create in a lot of other fields. And that is also practicing the artistic muscle. You know, again, do that workout. Just like we do curls or bench pressing or whatever it is, run on the treadmill. I get a chance to practice that as well in many different fields. And that stop of the flow is not necessarily a stop, but it's a different direction sometimes. And then I have a chance to go back to it too.
So, as you create, do you also hear as you're creating in your mind? That's a good analogy, I don't know.
Or do I hear other dialogue? Like other voices? Like,
Yeah, voices.
He's referring to what I talked about before you came in, that was that synesthesia about you hear colors. So that's what that's what.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I'm making it's funny that you mentioned that. I'm making a piece right now, a large canvas that is going to have music involved. There'll be a motion sensor inside of the frame. When you walk in front of the frame, it'll play music. And the particular music that I hear, it's interesting you say that, because when I was working on this piece, I heard the E minor major 7 scale. At first I thought it was E add 9. I'm a guitar player. So I thought E add 9. It was just something I heard in my head. And then I played it on the guitar and I said, no, that's E minor major 7. And I started to work with a cello player and a keyboard player to put this stuff together. So yes, I do hear or have a resonance of other things like sonic sound in my artwork as well. Any other?
Do you meditate with sound, or do you meditate with a repetitive mantra?
No, I do not meditate with sound. I know some people do. Me, I found early on as a musician when I was studying in Brooklyn, it was very difficult for me to have music playing or any type of other thing happening because my mind would go to it. My thoughts would say, is that A major? Or my thoughts would say, that's a bell. Or my thoughts would go there instead of where I want them to be, which is, I don't want to have thought. I want to loosen myself from thought so I can get away from that brain, the tactical command center, and go to the source of inspiration. Any other questions?